Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the weekly roundup here at the Cross Platform Baseball League, Week 4 edition. My name's Weaver for Prez. Tonight I am joined, as always, by one of the co-commissioners of the league, Dwayne. How's it going, Dwayne? We just had a great Week 4, and we had some pretty great match of the weeks last night. What did you think of those?
I'm feeling great, and yeah, I definitely agree. We had an awesome Week 4. There was a ton of upsets across the board. A lot of games were played, and a lot of runs were scored. It was really great action, and the matches of the week last night were primo, man. I mean, both sets were just so fun to watch, and it was great to be a part of.
Yeah, Phillies rock, sweeping Eduardo in the first game, especially in very close fashion, and then of course we had the split later on between Mers and Hummus. One of those games, very extra innings with the walk-off dinger, all that. It was a lot of fun to watch. You guys did a great job covering. Hope everyone had fun. But yeah, tonight is weekly roundup following Week 4. So today started Week 5, but this roundup is going to cover Week 4, and we'll get right into it. We'll start as always with the power rankings, and that means we're going to start with the Double A League.
Oops, sorry, we got the wrong tab up here. Here we go.
A little preview of what we'll get to after the rankings, but for now, the power rankings for the AA, no change here. We have the Fighting Irish, the Chill Cats, and Hogwarts Express, the bottom third of AA.
Yeah, like you said, not a lot changing here. This is pretty much locked in as AA playoffs are getting ready to start. So these are pretty much the seeds that these guys are going to have going into the playoffs.
Yep, and then into the middle third. This is where we see a tie there for fifth place between the Hikers and the Heavy Ballers. Both those guys have been very consistent this season, and you can kind of see past the chat window there. There's updated, like a recap of what they did in Week 4. So you can see the Hikers, they got swept by the Reggaetoners, whereas Tezzy and the Heavy Ballers took a game off of the Reggaetoners. And then, of course, Cougar rising to that number 3 spot with that split versus Hogwarts.
Yeah, nice to see Heavy Ballers and Hikers staying competitive. You know, like you said, opinion was split, and they end up being both at that 5 spot. So it'll be nice to see going to the playoffs, the parity within this, especially middle portion of the AA.
And the top 3 for AA, as you said, pretty much going into the playoffs. The Piranhas sitting on top. They flip-flop with the Reggaetoners, who come off a 3-1 week, and then Goldfinger and his Aeronauts, who had a close sweep. They were closely swept by the Piranhas at the top there. So a solid 1-2-3 going into the tournament. That should be starting up pretty soon.
Yeah, very exciting to see. Like you said, Piranhas rising up that big 4-0 week, and yeah, the AA playoffs are sure to be very exciting.
And as speaking of those playoffs, we'll get into the potential bracket here in a couple minutes. But for now, the AAA power rankings after 4 weeks of play. Here at the bottom, it's I believe the third or fourth consecutive week. I think third at the bottom for Joe AJ and the Anchors. It has not been the season that he wanted there. You can see he's finally catching up on his minimums. And then a 4-spot demotion for Oxbox and the Holograms, and then the 1-spot promotion for Panther and the Justice.
Yeah, like you said, Joe getting on the horse, getting those games in, just not a lot of success to his name in that big bunch of games he played in Week 4. Only one to come away with in the split versus the Vrooms. And then, yeah, Ox, after a hot week in Week 3, he drops after losing a sweep to the Vrooms. And the Justice looking a little better, making a push. I think Panther is one of those players that's especially excited for playoffs to start to really show his stuff.
Absolutely. Moving up past Justice, however, a couple demotions, a 1 spot and a 2 spot there for Wolfie Lions and the Battle Tapes, but a nice showing, a 4-0 week, in fact, from the Vrooms bumps him up to number 13.
Yeah, the Vrooms have been sneaking up the board a little bit here towards this late part of the season. It's nice to see one of the new players just snipping some wins off some veterans and some other new guys. A big 4-0 week for them. Quiet week from the Battle Tapes. Pushes them down a little bit, partly due to those Vrooms. And yeah, Wolfie went after some big dogs this week, so not surprised to really see the 0-4 there, but I think that's also another player that's ready for these playoffs to start so he can show us what he's got.
Absolutely. A bit of, I'd say, a deceptive 4-16. You can kind of say that about anyone that we've gone over so far. The negative records don't tell the whole story. There's some great players up and down the line in here. But moving on up here, Casino. I believe this is his highest ranking of the season, and probably last season too, all the way up to number 12 with the Sicilians after a 3-1 week. The Nasonauts hold pat after a 500 week, although a 2-0 split or a 2-0 sweep over the Narwhals looking pretty impressive right about now. And then No Name, he holds there at number 9 with that small promotion.
Yes, so yeah, you see 9, 11, and 12 there. It looks like we do have a tie at 9, so we'll see
tie,
who No
yeah.
Name is tied with when we scroll up. Another quiet week from him, but he gets pushed a little bit by the other rankings. And yeah, nice to see the Sicilians and Casino finally getting things going there up in North Jersey. His pitching first approach has really helped him, and his offense has started to really wake up.
Yeah, it's great to see. And yeah, let's see who he is tied with there in the 9 hole. It's actually, he's tied with someone who's been demoted 3 spots after a rough week, a 1-3 week, I believe. This is Eduardo and his Omaha Sirloins. And then you can see Unholy Yeezus there holding pat at 8, and Phillies Rock up a couple spots. He has looked dangerous.
Yeah, Phillies had a long week of games. He started off pretty rough, and he wasn't too happy with his performance, but we saw him on Sunday turn it around with a couple big series wins. So good for Phillies. He's starting to move up this board as the Season 8 most improved player from the AAA that we really had nailed down. Like you said, standing pat is the Atlantics. Any week you go 0-2 versus the Prowlers, and that's all you do. Isn't going to really change too many things because the Prowlers are so dominant. And a little tough luck for Ed, like we said, and we'll be looking to him, I think, to bounce back in these coming late weeks.
And he certainly has the ability to do so. We saw a lot of resiliency out of him last night. And then a promotion here for the Auditors as Phil moves into the 6th spot. Rainey finally, for the first time in a while, is not in those top 4 seeds. Granted, he still has a fantastic record, so not too much to be upset about there. And then the TACPs make their first appearance, I believe, in the top 4.
Yeah, TACP is going up the board. He's had some really dominant wins in AAA. A quiet week versus the Anchors, but last week he scored a ton of runs, and it's done him some favors. Rainey 0-2 versus Krill. That was a big series for him to try and nip a game. He wasn't able to really do that, even though it was close in, I believe, one of the games. So props to him for sticking here in this top 5, though. Those Moons are going to be really dangerous going into the playoffs. And then, yeah, Phil getting a little bump. Looking strong at that number 6. It's right around where he finished last season, so he's staying consistent, and I think he's going to be a dangerous person to match up with if the seeds say so.
So with the removal of Rainey from the top 3, it means it's going to look a bit different than it has recently. And there you can see Pizza Volcano into the number 3 spot after a 3-0 week. And then, of course, the Prowlers stand pat at number 1, followed by Captain Krill. Both of them had 4-0 weeks.
Yeah, not a lot doing at the top besides Pizza moving up in there. So nice job to Pizza with some dominant wins and a ton of run scoring. We're seeing a lot of runs from all 3 of these offenses, and I'm sure that's going to continue going to the playoffs.
Absolutely, and we'll keep an eye on all these guys up and down the list going into the playoffs. Remember, in the AAA, it's true for the AA as well, but in the AAA, every single team makes the playoffs, so seeding is absolutely critical. But going into the XBL, the 90 Ego tier that we offer here, only the top 12 make the playoffs, so we'll see how these power rankings shake out. Cardiac Card and Jay Boops, the Cardinals and the Colts respectively, hold pat down there at the bottom. And joining them in the bottom 3 with the demotion is Mers Drone and his Sakuras.
Yeah, 1-3 week from the Sakuras gives them a little bit of a push down while these bottom 2 stay where they are. They're getting their games in, but things are just not looking good for the Cards. He's been unable to pick up a win for a while now. Boops has been picking his up here and there, so look for him to maybe play spoiler for a few of these guys looking to make the playoffs.
Yeah, these guys all good pitchers, so certainly spoiler ability is rampant between them. So moving on up here into the guys that are kind of fighting for a playoff spot. That would be Doso and the Firebirds, and Ted Danson and his Dragoons falling a bit here. And then you can see Alec AD is ranked 12, and I believe in the actual standings he's also 12. So you can kind of see the disparity here between a playoff spot and a non-playoff spot.
Yeah, Doso and Ted kind of on that outside looking in right now. Both of them have offenses that I think really need to wake up. I mean, any week where you go 0-4 versus the Blues and the Birdies is not, it's a tough week, but Ted could have had some opportunities to make it closer with that offense. So we're going to look to him to maybe try and nip Alec for that playoff spot, but the Greats are looking good at number 12. He's been consistent throughout.
Absolutely. And moving on up into the mid-table, at least the bottom of the mid-table, you could say. The Megafauna have a fantastic weekend last Saturday, going 4-0 to 2 of those wins versus the Miners, 2 of them versus the Firebirds. He earns a 4-spot demotion into the 11th place on the league office power rankings. The Miners, despite some strong showings, especially against the Mallards, all of 3 of those series, you can see Mallards, Megafauna, Blackjackals, they were all played well, still falling to 10th place with that 9-15 record, and then holding pat at number 9, of course, is No Hummus, who looks like had a decent week there with the 3 series.
Yeah, there's some movement there for those 10 and 11 spots, like you said. Really big congratulations to Behagen on the awesome week last week. Big 4 wins for him to really jump up this board. And the Megafauna all of a sudden really looked like a playoff team. He's been so dominant in these games that he's played, just getting all the length out of his bullpen and everything. And the Miners, with that demotion, I think you can still look to Finite to really turn things on with that offense going forward this season. It's just tough when you've already got those 15 losses under your belt to really float above 500. So we'll see what's in store for him.
Certainly, and we'll move on up here. 8, 7, and 6, or 5 rather, because there's a tie, as you can see there. So a 2-spot demotion from Bice. Didn't have too much activity in week 4, other than you can see the sweep versus the Blues. That actually is Ashnod returning the favor on him after Africa, after Bice swept him last season. You move up, Dwayne, 1 spot into the 7 hole, and I, after a 6-0 week, I myself have moved into a tie for that 5 spot.
Yeah, really impressive from you, Weaver, bouncing back from that hole after going after a lot of the stronger opponents in this scheduling. So big 6-0 week gives you a nice 4-point move up the board to tie for 5th. So I think that's very well warranted. A nice 1-1 split for me earlier in the week. Gives me a little bit of a push, and Bice was quiet, like you said, so not a lot doing there. We'll look to Africa to probably get the engines moving here this week. Yeah,
no doubt. He's a very talented player. We'll see how he closes out his season here in these last few weeks. And into the top 4, the team that I am tied with would be Luke Archer and the Mallards there. They've been number 5 for a while now. He has a 4-0 week. Mike the Cooch at 15-5 is a solid number 4 there. He goes 500 in week 4. And of course, Beaky Bay holding at number 3, but certainly a strong number 3. You can see that 3rd series on the list there on the top right, dealing the first loss of the season to the reigning champion Lazy.
Yeah, nice job for Light Snack for finally getting that win streak of Lazy's broken. It took some offense and it took some grit, and he managed to do it. But yeah, no movement here at 3, 4, and 5. I think one of the most anticipated series on a lot of people's slate is going to be Potato Nation versus these Mallards. It's going to be a real dogfight for this number 4 position going into the playoffs.
And the Birdies versus the Potato Nation as well. That's another combination that has not played out yet. And then into the top 2, perhaps no surprises here. Undefeated week for Ashnod holds him at 2, but the first non-undefeated week for Lazy. Granted, he's still the best player according to league office and just about everybody else. He's still 21-1, but yeah, again, I just want to say congrats to the Birdies for that dominant Mercy victory over the reigning champ.
Yep, like you said, 1, 2, and 3 staying where they are. 1 and 2, I mean, after we already discussed 3. Ashnod with that nice, impressive week with that offense, just absolutely rolling. And Lazy, you can't really deny him with 20 wins at that top position. I think this is how it's going to stick for a little while unless there's some more shaking up to be had from these middle guys against the top players.
Certainly. And those are your power rankings after 4 weeks of play. So a little bit more than halfway done with the season. This is how it shakes out for all 3 leagues. And now that we're hurtling towards those playoffs, we're going to start talking on Weekly Roundup here about potential. Keyword is potential playoff previews. So we'll start here in the AA, which is actually definitely more set than any of the other leagues, considering they play less games. Their playoffs start sooner than anyone else's. So left to right, we'll just talk real quick. Thank you for the for clearing up the bottom right bracket there for me. So the Fighting Irish and the Chill Cats there, the 8 and 9, they would play a best of 3 to see who gets the privilege to play Rise and Fall in that top left bracket. The Aeronauts and the Heavy Ballers, Goldfinger and Tezzy there at the 4 and 5 quarterfinal. The Reggaetoners and Hogwarts Express would play their bracket, and then the Lone Stars and the Hikers there would play in the bottom right bracket. Which of these do you think would be the one you would want to catch?
On either side of the bracket, I'll give you one. I think at 4 and 5 here, the Aeronauts and the Heavy Ballers, if this stays where it is going to be an absolutely insane matchup because Tezzy and Goldfinger have both shown at times that they have the offenses to compete. even perhaps on 80 ego coming up in the next season, but they got to get it done right here in this AA playoffs first, and if they match up, it's going to get nasty. So I'm really excited to see that if it ends up going through with the seeding. And over here we have the Reggaetoners and Hogwarts Express. That's one I'm actually looking to see really how Burr performs. He's been a little bit quiet, a little bit here and there with his games, but when he gets him in, all of a sudden he's submitting these results with tons of runs. And Hogwarts Express and Black has also done his job a few times of keeping players close, so that'll be an interesting set in a best of 5. If the Burr offense comes out, though, nice hawk.
Nice hawk indeed, brother. Yeah, but these are prospective, but like I said, for the AA, these are probably, I'd say 95% where it's going to finish, considering they're almost done. But more wiggle room here as we move on into the AAA prospective playoff bracket. And I'm going to have to put on my reading glasses for this one. Can you start with the left half of the bracket while I pull up my own?
Oh, here, I can zoom in a little bit. Is that a little better?
No, I'm going to have to pull up my own.
Right,
sorry,
no problem.
Yeah.
So at the left side of the bracket, we have the Prowlers with that first bye. He picked up 1 loss earlier today, but we'll see if he stands in that number 1 position. Corruption's offense has been really, really nasty. And then you've got, with the privilege to play him in the first round, the winners of the Atlantics, El Yeezus versus the Anchors, and then the Sirloins and the Wolfie Lions. That would be Eduardo and Wolfie Lion. And then at the next half of the bracket, we have the Moons, who would be receiving that bye in the 4 seed, and the Tac Peas, who would also be receiving a bye. I believe I'm not sure, there might be an error here. Never mind, excuse me. I'm sorry. My apologies, guys. I'm just reading this wrong. The Tac Peas should be moved up into the next portion of the bracket as well, because they receive a single round bye. And then we've got the Sicilians and the Battle Tapes at the bottom. That'll be an interesting matchup.
I've got it here, so I can. I'll go over the right side of the bracket here. So yeah, the Moon Kingdom there, over in the top right, and then below, in that half of the bracket, the no names, and the Holograms would play each other, and the winner of that would go on to play the winner of the Narwhals and the Justice. That'd be a good game there. And then in what we might call the Krill bracket, and potentially, would be the Auditors, the Nasonauts, and the Vrooms. So yeah, like we said, these aren't perfectly up to date, but it does give you a good picture on what we could be seeing here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, on that left side, I've got my eyes on the Sirloins and the Wolfie Lions. If Ed's pitching is good, I think he'll have a pretty okay time in that series. But if his offense doesn't come out and his pitching is not as great as we've seen it, perhaps the way it was a little bit last night on Match of the Week, Wolfie has shown the ability to score a ton of runs. So I'm looking to that series for some action, along with the Sicilian and the Battle Tapes down at the bottom. Again, Casino's looking really hot, so his pitching could carry him to a potential playoff run. And a couple over on this right side that I'd like to talk about, No Name and the Holograms. These two have scrimmed a ton, and I am not really sure how to call it. Ox going into the playoffs is going to be a crapshoot for almost anybody he goes up against, because he's played so many games and he knows his opponents so well. So that 7 versus 18 is going to be a lot closer than it seems on the surface. And then we're going to look for the Nasonauts to come breaking out, I think, at that bottom part of the bracket. I would like to see that offense come through, but Vrooms has been sneaky good for a new guy, and he's had his opportunity to pick up wins. So there's a ton of parity in this AAA bracket that I'm excited to see.
Yeah, there's a ton of different combinations that could play out, because remember, these are certainly not final. They almost definitely will change quite a bit. There's a ton of combinations that I would love to see. I think I said that last week. It's just, like you said, parity up and down, especially in that, that 5 to 15 basically range.
Yeah, indeed.
So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there, and we shall go into the XBL potential playoff picture. And this is up to the split that you and B. Hagen just had between yourselves not long ago. So we can start talking about that. The Black Jackals, of course, in that top left part of the bracket, would play the winner of Bice versus No Hummus, Africa, and Stags. Cooch Potato Nation, should they repeat as the 4 seed from last year, would await the winner of the 5 versus 12 game, which right now stands to be the Mallards and the Greats. And then over into the top right, Ashnod, looking to repeat as 2 seed, would face the winner of yourself, Dwayne, versus Finite Provision, so 2 league office members there. And then Light Snack and his birdies would await the winner of myself and B. Hagen, the resurgent B. Hagen, who looked dead and buried only, I'd say a week ago. He's climbed back into this thing there at the 11th seed. So what would you want to give me a couple here that you would want to see for sure?
All right, so for sure, let's see on the left side. I'm definitely looking to 8 versus 9, Africa and the Stags, because the resurgence of No Hummus has been great this season, and his pitching has been nails. He's been absolutely locked down on the mound, and we haven't quite seen Bice get the wheels turning. He's gotten his fair share of wins, but we got to see some games coming out of him going forward. But if he ends up in that 8 seed versus Hummus, I think that's going to be a huge series, and the winner gets the privilege of playing lazy. And then moving down to the next half of the bracket, I'll talk about the next one just because there's that potential right there again for 4 versus 5, yeah. Mike versus Luke. That's one a lot of people are going to have their eyes on, but Luke is going to have to get through Alec first, and Alec is ready to show that Hall of Fame pedigree in the playoffs, I think. On the right side, in the Ashnod side of the bracket, we've got myself and Finite. That's one to really keep an eye on, especially going into the playoffs. We're that final match of the week as it's scheduled right now, and Finite and I have always played close. So going into that, it'll be very, very exciting to see. And yeah, you just got to watch out for yourself there at 6 and 11, I think, to maybe not get nipped by that resurgence of B. Hagen. He's been absolutely awesome. His eye has improved, and he's got that sneaky home run power, but you yourself are on a very hot win streak right now. So it's going to come down a lot to who's hot at the right time. It's been said in chat, and we'll say it again here on stream. Like, it's a crapshoot with these playoffs sometimes.
Yeah, fun looking bracket here, but again, still 3 weeks remaining starting today, so more than likely going to be some shakeup, not only through the 5 through 12, but possibly in the I would say the 2, 3, and 4 spots. I'd be shocked if Lazy wasn't the 1 seed again. Okay, so those are potential playoff previews. We will do it again for you next week as things change. And right now we're going to do something a little different. So normally, after we've gone over power rankings and such, we go into the top 5 plays of the week. We still are going to do some top 5 plays of the week, but right now we are going to do, we have 4 plays for you that are not top plays. And for the first one, Dwayne and I are going to go quiet and just let you enjoy the show. just a classic clip there for the first not top play of the week. And for the second one here, this is a game between the Cardiac Card and Jay Boobs. A play in extra innings. The Cardiac Card, he spams his A button too much during the pitcher substitution, resulting in a pitch he did not want to throw. It goes wild, and that ends up being the winning run for Jay Boobs. We'll watch that one more time.
Oof, man, that is a rough way to go out. Like you said, poor Cardiac spamming A. You could tell he's getting a little impatient. Boops contemplating whatever he's contemplating there, and then boom goes the dynamite. There she blows.
Unfortunate pass ball there. And we will go into the next one, which unfortunately for Finite, he's got a couple on this list. But this is Finite versus Luke. Close game here in the middle of the game. He makes a nice diving play, and you can see he charged for a 95 or so throw and just hit a bit of lag, resulting in an overthrow and a run. He ended up losing this game by 1 run.
Yeah, that's tough. Benjamin Willard really bottled it there. Blows the entire game for the poor Joplin Miners. Like we said, for his power rankings, he's had a really close games, really pretty tight week, but a few unfortunate things did not go his way.
You can see it one more time here. Yeah, the red just showing up when it really shouldn't have there. And we'll go into the final not top play of the week, also from Finite. Sorry, buddy. A strike away, you can see, from beating the reigning champion Lazy. The red pitch gets hit decently into left field. The shortstop bobbles it. And if you were here, you know how the rest plays out.
Yep, we've got him pinch hitting for Pack-a-Punch here, and you can kind of feel it in your soul if you've been in these situations before in Super Mega Baseball. It's where the ball sort of carries itself. Yeah. The one strike away, it pops out of his shortstop's glove on what would have been a crazy play, to be fair. And then he falls behind 3-0.
and the 3-0 wins it for the Jackals. Just heartbreaking if you're finite, and if you're lazy, you got to be going insane there. What an ending!
Yeah, it's one of those plays where if you cut it a little bit later than the first error, it could be in the top plays of the week portion of the show. But if you get the full picture, you just really feel for our buddy Finite there.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we'll get into the top 5 actual good plays of the week, and starting with a play from yourself from the Pine Sox, Amanda Hug and Kiss making a nice diving play up the middle on a hard line drive to get a big out late in the game.
Yeah, that ball was absolutely powdered. I didn't know if I had the reaction to get it done, especially on a missed pitch there. You just get nervous with a hitter like Snack at the plate, so really pleased to get a big out there in the 8th, eventually winning that game.
And the number 4 play of the week comes from the AA. Shout out Goldfinger for streaming his game so we can get a clip like this. It's Rise and Fall leaping at the wall, making a catch with a bunch of runners on base. You can see Goldfinger leading big there. It would have been worse. And it's a great thing for Rise and Fall that he made the catch because he ended up winning this game.
Yeah, it ended up being a crucial catch for Rise, like you say. Ends up winning that game and really locking himself into that number 1 seed after this series. So this is a huge catch in the grand scheme of things.
And our number 3 play comes from all the way back on Monday, basically exactly 1 week ago. Casino versus Eduardo, a series that they split, and it's a nice home run rob left center field in Apple Field.
Yeah, Casino's real familiar with robbing in those over in left center field in Apple, and he gets it done there in the split versus Eduardo. I believe this is the game he won, but I'll have to double check. Either way, though, it's a great play.
Yeah, fantastic catch, perfect timing. And the tag up does succeed, but still, you're saving a run guaranteed there. And then into the number 2 play versus me. This is Alec A.D. making a well-timed dive against the wall. I mean, that literally could not have been any closer to hitting off the wall and then ricocheting into the glove. But he catches it at the last second and denies me a surefire triple.
Yeah, amazing play by Alec. Just huge range with his right fielder. He's lucky he's got a lot of speed on him there. And an amazing well-timed dive. Those are some of those pleasing ones to see. A couple of those have really made it up this list of number 1 this season, so nice to see Alec getting on the board with a great play.
A fantastic mechanical dive there, and into the number 1 play of the week, which was also a dive, but this time with some extreme stakes on the line. The Megafauna looking to push back into the playoffs. Dosa with the tying run on second in the bottom of the 11th, steps a bit too far off the base, gets doubled up after the dive in the gap.
That is a huge dive from Reggie Wright. The extra inning magic from the Megafauna right now is undeniable, and he worked it right there to get a huge 2 outs and to get a big win on the way to sweeping Doso.
Yeah, that win, like you said, getting him the sweep and contributing to the 4-0 day that he had to put himself back in the playoff picture. You love to see it from the Megafauna, who had a rough start. So that's your number 1 play of the week. Those are your top 5 plays of the week. We will have more for you 1 week from tonight. So remember to keep recording your best plays and submitting them in the Discord channel, the top 5 highlight reel plays. And if you feel like sharing some of your blunders too, you can share that in the not highlight reel channel. But I've been Weaver for Prez. That's it for us tonight on the weekly Roundup, Week 4 edition. We will see you Sunday night for more matches of the week, and then, of course, next Monday night for the next Roundup. Dwayne, why don't you sign us out?
All right, Weaver, thank you again for joining me here for the weekly Roundup. Thank you all for viewing it. I hope you all enjoyed the content that we provided for you. Big shout out to B. Hagen for making the brackets for us tonight. And shout out to all of our other content creators in this league that have made this possible, that make these broadcasts come together. Just keep hitting your minimums, guys, as we get ready for playoff time. And it should be exciting. Keep your eyes on all the scores, all the results, and everything that's going to go down, and get ready to have your seeds locked in. We hope you all have a safe and pleasant evening.
Good night, everybody.